Oh, what a tangled web we weave when first we practice to deceive. When the story first broke about Dominic Cummings' road trip up and down England, I, like the rest of the nation, was angered at his unjustified sense of privilege, but not altogether surprised. After all, he clearly is a man who sees himself as more important and entitled than the rest of us. But I really wasn't prepared for what else would come to light as a result of Cummings' ridiculous lies to the press from the Downing Street Rose Garden. That's what happens when you tell obvious lies. People start digging, and what's come to light is truly horrifying. So as you watch this video and learn about the shady links between an unnecessary track and trace app and Dominic Cummings' mate's brother's company, as you come to understand the role played by the only two SAGE members whose names had to be discovered by a Freedom of Information request, I want you to bear one very important point in mind. This is the man, and these are the lies that Conservative MPs all across this land have been asking and expecting you to believe in and accept. I want you to keep that in mind, to remember it, and to let it sink in. This government and its sycophantic Tory MPs are treating the entire nation with contempt, including you, your families, and for some, your newly deceased relatives. Let that sink in too. And there's something else, something far more important. It is inconceivable that Boris Johnson doesn't know all about this, and still he has chosen not to come clean about Mr. Cummings. It's equally inconceivable that Health Secretary Matt Hancock is in the dark about any of it. In fact, it seems likely to me that the entire cabinet will understand at least the gist, if not the detail, of what's going on. Let all that sink in. This isn't just about one unelected dickhead breaking the lockdown guidelines. This goes to the very heart of government, of sleaze and of blatant profiteering at taxpayers' expense in the face of the worst health crisis to hit UK in living memory. You can always trust a Tory to profit from human misery, even when doing so makes that misery, that death toll, even worse. Now, I've made some big claims here, and claims, if they're to be believed, require evidence. So what exactly is that evidence? Well, let's look at a few links, shall we? Dominic Cummings famously orchestrated the Vote Leave campaign. In fact, he's still under police investigation for his alleged role in deceiving the public in order to secure a Leave result. He was one of only two members of the SAGE group whose names weren't disclosed until the government was hit with a Freedom of Information Act request. The other was Mark Warner, whose brother, Ben Warner, is a data analyst. Ben worked with Cummings on the Leave campaign, and Cummings hired him on behalf of Number 10 last year. Mark Warner has been described as acting like Cummings' deputy in SAGE meetings. Warner runs an artificial intelligence firm called Faculty AI, a firm which has increasingly won government contracts, including the contract for finding ways to implement AI across the whole of government. One of the company's shareholders, who has £90,000 invested in it, is Theodore Agnew. It probably won't surprise many people who understand just how sleazy this government is to realise that Theodore Agnew is a cabinet minister with responsibility for digital services. Faculty was granted £250,000 of taxpayers' money last year just to look at possible ways of implementing digital technologies in government. So we have a chief advisor, whose mate runs a company with a cabinet minister investor, and an executive whose brother sits on the Sage Group, alongside Dominic Cummings. That's a start, but it's still not quite a smoking gun. Track and trace will be achieved in part by the use of an app developed by, you guessed it, Mr. Warner's recently relaunched company, Faculty AI. Faculty's app doesn't just collect data on the people who've been found to be positive, though. It apparently will collect and upload much, much more than that, and it won't be ready to go until at least the end of June, according to the project chair. There are other ready-to-go apps developed by experienced firms and used successfully in other countries, one by Google and Apple, that is cheaper than the one we're buying from Cummings' mates, that's ready to go now, and that doesn't invade privacy unnecessarily. But if the government uses that app, Cummings doesn't get his hands on lots of data that he can use to manipulate future elections and markets. Mr. Warner doesn't make any profit, neither presumably will a certain cabinet minister see as much return on his £90,000 shareholder stake, and of course, if we don't wait around for Faculty AI's app, fewer people will die. And that's something else I want you to let sink in. The delays caused by waiting for these preferred technologies to become available just so dodgy Dom's mates can earn some extra profit at taxpayers' expense cost lives. This is the Tory party doing what it does best, putting profit before the general good. Let that sink in. We know that Warner's firm Faculty AI is associated with American data crunching firm Palantir. Palantir has been the source of great controversy in the US for its secretive Big Brother style involvement in collecting data for government agencies like the FBI and the CIA, as well as domestic police and immigration services. Their data is used to track telephone records, vehicle registrations, credit card usage, individual addresses, and family or business relationships of private citizens. How would you feel about Dominic Cummings getting his hands on that sort of information about you? Let that sink in. We have an unelected advisor taking charge of the government's response to coronavirus and presiding over a hugely inflated death rate as a result. The same man has friends with major links to firms that stand to profit from the coronavirus pandemic by taking government money to provide yet to be developed services, vital services that would be available more quickly and cheaply elsewhere. The cost to the taxpayer is enormous as a result. The delays in achieving effective track and tracing really ought to be obvious to all. The cost in lives from this disreputable little fiasco is immeasurable. And the one element that links it all together is Dominic Cummings. This is the man that Boris Johnson, Matt Hancock, and very possibly your MP, like mine, want you to believe. They hold you, the electorate, in such contempt that they even expect that you will. This is the man that's pissing on your late granny's grave. This is the man who has undoubtedly caused untold damage, not only by failing to act himself, but also by preventing others from acting upon, or perhaps even hearing, the advice from Sage. Let that sink in. And remember it the next time you get to vote. Get these profiteering, euthanizing, eugenic bastards out.